So I guess bigger question is, do you think carp is worthwhile? Because you could argue a lot of young and talented second gens are usually taken away from their communities and the impact they could potentially make in their local communities, right? Only to be put on the front line.
Oh, Talia, you're coming from a personal place with this, huh?
I mean, I think
Oh,
I
you
think
picked up on
everybody
that.
wants. I think everybody wonders this. You,
Well, first of all, I love Carp Las Vegas,
I know you love carp.
and I love Carp. Yeah, but Carp Las Vegas has done something really special. They brought a lot of young people,
Mm-hmm.
and they got a lot of flack for that. Especially then, they got a lot of young people from other communities to go there, and then they stayed there, and then those communities were like, "What the heck? What
Yeah.
happened to our young people who are going to be our prime leaders?"
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of got to look at it and you're like, man, was that the right thing to do? My perspective on it, obviously coming from a biased place, um, being a CARP member myself, and I get the pain. I understand it. Before I was CARP, I was frustrated with it. But then I kind of look at it two ways. One is that Ginny Fleischman is a really good example. Where's Ginny now?
Who is Jenny?
Ginny Fleischman used to be the president of CARP, and he was from Bay Area, decided to move to CARP Las Vegas, and then get his training there. But Ginny is now married and lives in Dallas, and now is one of Dallas's key youth leaders.
Okay.
But his training in CARP allows him now to be a really effective leader.
Okay.
And so, to me, it kind of pays itself forward at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Like I didn't stay in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I moved somewhere else. Ginny
Yes.
moved somewhere else. People that then are raised in carp become incredible assets to communities in the future. So if we look at it just like, oh, it's just my community, my young people, then it's tough to say. The other perspective is that you can't really meddle with when it's hard to meddle with something that feels like God's calling.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that, but I think the bigger thing is it's because these people go on GPA, right? So they're already 2 years out, or what? I mean, they're already for sure 1 year out of their community, right? And so, and then if they choose to do a second year, that's two. And if you do CIG or whatever, you can get sent anywhere in the world, right? So and then if they feel inspired to do carp or something like that, it's like, oh, then they're like, it's already like 3 to 4 years already in that progression. So, and within that time, you could argue that a lot of things could have been, you missed a lot of time to put into your community and to revitalize in some way, right? Or do some good work, right? And I get that you're on your train of faith and heading to your destination and whatever, but it doesn't take away from the time that they're absent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I think I think we do too much outreach. You know what I mean? Like as because I feel like our movement in a way is really stifled in second gen growth, and we focus way too much on that first gen like outreach. You know what I mean? Doing that carp activity, which I don't dig on, but I just think it shouldn't be top priority. You know what I mean? I feel like it's more rewarding to be able to reach out to your brothers and sisters here, and it says something, that we're not doing that. You know what I mean?
I agree with you that we should be reaching out more to our local brothers and sisters, but I gotta say, man, the people going to CARP and SDF and GPA are not being taken away from the community. Physically, yes, but those people usually are not active members anyway. You could take
That's not
50%
true. That's not true. That's not true.
of the people here in Bridgeport that just aren't active. They don't come to nothing. They don't participate in nothing. They're in their chat groups, but they're silent lookers that just, you see their little chat bubble face show up at the last thing, but they never reply, they never like, they never comment, they're just very outside, just skating the edge, just kind of watching, looking in, but never really gonna do anything. They might come to a barbecue, but they're not going to come to, a fundraising event, a witnessing event, but even just a youth event, an event designed just for them to get together and spend time together, like a Halloween party or something. You're not going to find them there. Not, they're just not interested. And I feel like, when Joshua went to GPA, it wasn't because he was a hot prime member who is just so excited to serve. He
Yeah.
went because he was struggling with his faith, and as I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people do. When I went to the Blessed Teens Academy, I had questions. I wasn't going because, I was like, my faith's so strong. I really want to contribute to a different community. Like I was desperate to find more, and I was struggling, and I wanted to go to GPA but couldn't afford it, and then I ended up going to BTA, which ends up being more expensive, but was you could do in payments. So
I mean, I see how that argument plays out, and
so
yeah,
yeah,
it
definitely
makes sense. But I just feel like
the kids are definitely being taken from the community. That's true, and they could potentially contribute more if they were still in their communities.
uh
My feeling is, and I have no real proof of this, but my feeling is the people who end up doing these searching programs are not
mhm.
the ones who you're really taking from anywhere. I feel like they wouldn't have shown up anyway. Um,
Mm.
and I could be wrong on that. I think that it's not as big as a negative. I feel like it's better that they do something
Okay.
than just kind of stay silent and in the background. I think the contribution that they have in carp is massive compared to if they were just working at Suabwe.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it changes though, because I mean, if I'm growing up, right, and I see my older brothers and sisters going away, you know what I mean, and they don't come back, it just says something, you know what I mean. It feels like they don't care about me, or you know what I mean. As like as a younger member, you know what I mean.
Mm.
And like it's just the subtle impacts that it also has too, because even if you didn't care so much about the church, and if you weren't so active to begin with, um, I think your presence being gone does leave a big impact in some way. Because the more I feel like it's better to have more role models and someone to go to rather than none. You know what I mean? Especially in the tiny, smaller communities and whatnot. And I think just my frustration is that um, it's like it's just we do things that are designed in a way that doesn't make sense, right? So so if we have the problem of like engaging second gen, what do? We do carp, and we send people on mission, we make them do carp, and what is that doing? We're increasing members by pulling in outside people, right? And it's like that doesn't make sense. That is counterintuitive to what you would think, how you would engage second gen, right? Of course, it's targeting a specific group, but it's not all encompassing. You know.
That's an argument I hear often
Mm-hmm.
in the relation, especially the relationship between. It seemed to be in the past. I think things have changed, but Yam and carp, and seeing that
Mm-hmm.
divide, kind of like what Torres mentioning, how Vegas was here, Yam's doing this their own thing. For one, I would say I agree with Justin that
Mm-hmm.
I think the numbers are less than we think. I think most people go back home, for one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the difference between why some of these people don't go back home is because the community doesn't advertise themselves back to their GPAers.
Ooh.
Is the pastor sending them a monthly, hey, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
You have three people in your community going to GPA. Do you check in with them monthly?
Mm-hmm.
Are you engaging them and showing them that there's something for them to come back to that they can plug into? That they're going to be cared for and loved, and their spiritual life is going to be facilitated to grow.
Mm-hmm.
What the big thing about carp is that they're advertising.
Right.
It's very hard to make a decision of where God wants you to be when you're the when a community is not. You have to feel like you're advertising for them. They're not.
For sure.
It's not just expected that they'll go back.
Mm-hmm.
Their priority one for them when they're off GPA is they want to serve in some way. And if they feel like they're not going to get their kind of growth and their kind of serve the way that they, an advertisement's all about your target market. You want to go into marketing.
Yes, sir.
But as a pastor, that's why, we gotta invest in our GPAers.
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect them to come back. And I would say the same for the local youth leaders. Are you invested? I came back to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to, because I had elder figures here that kept engaging with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that, and I would say the numbers are not as bad as we think. It's just difficult, and I hear the difficulty. It's painful, especially, and I would say the same for people like couples, like blessed couples that then like leave.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're in the community and then they move somewhere else. You could have the same pain, but I'm never going to hold that against them. You know, like, how dare you move? Like, you know, like you can't control that.
Yeah,
They
it's
got to
true.
go where their job is. They got to go where their calling is. And
Mhm.
that's just a part of it. But I would say, though, Toya, to this point, this argument that
Right.
why do we outreach when we can't even in-reach?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why are we outreaching when we're losing the same number of people on the inside? One is you're right. I agree with you. In the sense that we need to be taking care of our second gen better.
Mm-hmm.
And this, to me, is an issue that is not the youth leaders alone.
For sure. For
I
sure.
was just telling someone yesterday about this. There was like, youth leaders need to step up and build DP education for the kids. And I love this person a lot. And my response to that was like, no, that's true. Youth leaders are important, but more important is better parental education.
Yeah, yeah.
More
I think
important.
everyone agrees with that.
Yeah, because it's family. It's not just
For
on
sure.
it's not on Tora's shoulders to save Las Vegas youth. No. Tora is there to facilitate and help. He's there to help, but at the end of the day, it's the parent-child relationship that's going to matter.
Yeah.
So that development needs to be there. I'm with you, but also, if we look at principle, and if I were to just look at principle
Okay.
in POC, it talks about, and if you read the original manuscript, like the original text, it talks about whole purpose, individual purpose.
Uh-huh.
But the emphasis there is that if you're not seeking the whole, you're not going to reach the individual, not the other way around. If you're not investing for the whole, you're not going to manifest the individual. So if we look at just serving our community and we
Right.
don't focus on outward facing and seeking to bring something other
Like
people into it,
providentially, right?
providential activity, if we're not
Uh-huh.
seeking to expand, we are collapsing. We're not going to fulfill the thriving community. And from my experience, when CARP is strong in a community, the community is growing. And when a community is growing, people want to stay in that community.
Amen.
So
I
at the end of
do.
the day, it's a long-term investment
Right.
that looks like you're taking away from caring for the second gen, which we do need to do better at. Don't get me wrong. But if we don't do this, we're dying. And that's a fundamental principle of life, in my opinion. If you're not expanding, there's no standstill.
Right.